What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
All right, I think we are all set. What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It is episode number 566, presented by the City of Vineland. It's KB and Matt coming at you from Underground Studios. We got a lot to dive into. It's our NFL season preview episode. We've got the Fightin' Phils to talk about, and the Sixers are trying to appease to the fans by bringing back an old pal and somebody that Joel Embiid likes. I wonder why. We'll get into all that. We'll get into the union as well. And we have our official Survivor 45 cast list dropped today from Entertainment Weekly. So we'll do a little pre-check there. But before we get into everything, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at Underground PHI on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook.com/Underground Sports PHI. And if you want to watch every Wednesday show live before it goes anywhere else, it's twitch.tv/Underground Sports PHI. Follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Castorina. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you decide to get your podcast. Leave a 5-star rating and review. Goes a long way for helping this show continue to grow, helps our network as a whole continue to grow. And leaving those reviews is just, lets us know you're listening. So go leave a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. And of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show twice a week. You get full video episodes of every podcast on our network. Eagles Enemies returns this week. Guzman's Gridiron has been a wild success. 3 episodes in. A new one dropping as well this week to get ready for Clearview. Plus, every show on our network is doing phenomenal on YouTube right now, so keep that coming. We're at 540 subscribers on YouTube right now. Need to get to 600 before the end of the month, so let's make that happen. We're slowly but surely on our way. Go subscribe, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. And of course, this podcast is presented by the City of Vineland, and the City of Vineland Municipal Calendar features city-organized, city-sponsored, and city-affiliated events that are of public interest. The calendar, which is accessible at vinelandcity.org, is a good way for residents and visitors to build awareness, remain engaged with city government, and participate in local events. You can also follow the City of Vineland on social media via their Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube pages. Through these tools, you can stay connected to the community and get important announcements about programs and services offered by the city. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. And of course, big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for their continued support of this podcast. Matt, what's going on, man?
Living the dream.
It is, full swing for the Fightin' Phils. They are trying to keep a firm grasp on that top wild card spot, and it's all brought to you by our pals over at Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. You guys can go to kenwoodbeer.com, use the all-new and improved Kenny Finder, see who's got Kenny's on tap in the Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and soon-to-be Maryland area. You got to be 21 or older to do so, and of course, please drink responsibly and stock up on the Kennys for what should be a very fun Red October. Phil's getting the job done as we speak right now against the Padres. Hopefully that, holds true, but Chicago Cubs aren't going down without a fight.
Yeah, they're hanging around. That's fine. I did see Sandy Alcantara went on the 15-day IL for the Marlins. It's a tough loss for the last few weeks of the season, but
just continues to duck the Phillies.
Yeah, and probably for his own mental health that he does that. Yeah. Cubs, like we said, they made a bet on themselves at the All-Star break that they felt they could be competitive still. They're still even competitive in their division.
Mm-hmm.
That's not completely out of the question for them. So, obviously, like you said, we've maintained our position at the top, but, it's still not fully in our control. Playoffs seem like not, again, certainty is not the word, but likely for the Phillies. It is, like you said, just a matter of where we end up in seeding, and you'd obviously like to have a home series guaranteed. That'd be a great thing.
And that's what made the Brewers series so tough. You go in and that's a potential playoff matchup, a team that you could end up seeing down the line, and to kind of lay a goose egg like you did. You salvaged the series in the final game, but not the best performance from the Fightin' Phils against the Brewers.
I just did a little Phillies impression by choking.
That's JT at home.
Yeah. Although he did just had the game on upstairs and heard him. He did have a hit today.
He loves the road games. But I mean, to lose 2 out of 3 to Milwaukee, and then have to come out and play a Padres team that, even though they're still like hovering around, but it doesn't seem likely that they're going to make the playoffs. They're not going to go down without a fight. And obviously there's the postseason mini rivalry that happened last year between these two teams, so that's always going to be around. But Philly's got to be more consistent. I'm just saying, going into last night, and then the result, Bryce, you can't shave your face, pal.
Yeah, I don't want to be the Yankees here, but maybe don't mess with the mojo.
I know you were on like an 0 for 19 in September, but like you look a decade older without the beard. We gotta keep people who adjust any type of hair on Bryce's head away from him for good. There's no need for him to cut his hair, no need for him to shave. Stop looking older, Bryce. Johan Rojas, though, named one of the Defensive Players of the Month in August, which is pretty exciting. But, I mean, Phillies have big-time series, the next 2 series that they have coming up. Marlins coming into town, Braves coming into town for 4. Those are going to be real, litmus tests of where you are as a team heading into the postseason. You got to figure out the bullpen, and guys got to be able to hit on a more consistent basis than they have. You can't just, expend all your runs in one night and then go cold. You got to be more consistent, especially if you wind up playing the Cubs, because that team all year long, even though, their pitching has been up and down, they've been able to hit. They have a plus 101 run differential. And like you said, they bet on themselves, and they're in a position to be one of the top 2 wildcard spots.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked a lot about how August was a very favorable schedule to the Phillies, and that September proposes a few more challenges. You do get a few more Mets series, and they've obviously really struggled down the stretch. That could be a huge boost for the Phillies, especially if they close out the season against the Mets. You're talking about, again, if you need to win 2 out of 3 to guarantee yourself the top wild card, you feel better about that against the Mets than you would a lot of other opponents. So that's the good part of it. I trust that they'll continue to be good. I don't think the Cubs are gonna win out the rest of the year. We talked about this. We do also have the tiebreaker over them as well, Chris. So that's that's a nice thing to kind of have in your back pocket. And that was kind of the good part about the Phillies' performance this year is against quite a few of the wild card teams, we do have the advantage over. So that gives you just a little extra buffer, which is not too bad, I would say. I think that's a nice spot to find yourself in. So I don't foresee the Cubs, they'd have to go well above 500 probably.
Which might be possible looking at their schedule.
We did look. I do also remember looking at their schedule and thinking, it's not great.
They've got the Diamondbacks at home. Then they go to Colorado, which could be favorable for them as well with how they've been able to hit. Then they go to Arizona. Then they have the Pirates come in. Then the Rockies go to Chicago. And then they finish up at Atlanta and then at Milwaukee, which, like we said, I think last week could be for the NL Central crown, and determines who is one of the wild card teams and who is winning that division.
Yeah, so it's going to be I don't know if it's going to be like a photo finish, but I do think that's the really tight race in the wild card, especially obviously you still have teams competing for those last spots, but in terms of the Phillies, I would say that's really all you're thinking about now is just getting that first spot. But yeah, Diamondbacks have a lot to play for in that series against the Cubs. That's a good thing. You want
and there's multiple series there with them.
Any inspired games you can get there is a positive. But yeah, it's really Reds, Marlins, Diamondbacks all for that last spot.
The Giants, they got swept by the Cubs this week.
Yeah, that's a tough. I mean, 2.5 back is not a death sentence, but again, you just think of what you're gonna have to do
when Gabe Kapler's your manager.
that is where it gets challenging. But, you just think of what you have to do to make up that ground. 2.5 doesn't sound insane, but we got 3 weeks left in the season, Like, making 3 games up is not the easiest thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
We got, 19, 20 games left in the season at this point for most teams?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, you'd have to guarantee yourself, getting 13 wins? To feel good about that, making up that kind of gap for the most part, because most teams are playing slightly above 500. I don't know. I think that's a tough spot.
Phillies do get the job done. They win 5-1. Have you seen this TikTok? I saw Absolutely Hammered tweeted it out. It might be one of the best overall Phillies videos I've ever seen. Someone posted asking my 4-year-old daughter and biggest Phillies fan to name the Phillies players. I've laughed 100 times at this video. Might be one of the best videos.
This is an easy one. Yeah, love it. It's cool. It's cool to see stuff like that. That's when we were talking about how the Phillies have been terrible.
Yes,
it's nice that it's nice that you got that still. That's a good thing about being good again. Is it's fun for younger fans too.
So Phillies now 2 up in the loss column on the Cubs, 1 up in the win column. Good to get back in the win side of things. 77-62 on the year. I think the biggest thing is just figuring out, one, do you need to skip Michael Lorenzen in the rotation? It feels like, those first 2 starts, obviously he goes 8 innings against the Marlins, then he has the no-hitter, and then it's been a wild roller coaster for him, with just, baseballs flying out of the ballpark and runs being scored on him. It does feel like he's kind of hitting just a wall, and I think, from the time he pitched in Detroit this year, along with 2 very long outings in his first 2 Philly starts, it might be just a little general fatigue, and, you have the arms right now where I think you can get away with it. Would you rest Michael Lorenzen 1 rotation start?
I think rest could do good, but you never know, what guys are like when you're having an actual conversation with them and what that might do to confidence and things like that. They're gonna have a better informed decision than I would. But yeah, it's been disappointing to see his kind of hit a little turbulence. But if Taijuan Walker has taught us anything, is that you can struggle a little bit and find your way through the course of the season. I think obviously not not the best results, but we've seen what he can do, and this was his reputation coming to the Phillies too. It was not that he was some. Listen, when he threw the no-hitter, that was pretty surprising, all things considered. He was considered a good pitcher. I think when we acquired him, everyone was kind of thinking, great, this is a great 4th, 5th option, going to give some depth on the back end. No one is expecting this guy to come in and be a Wheeler Nola kind of complement. It was definitely much more of a rotational option, and that's what he's been so far. Mm-hmm. And this is just what a 4th or 5th starter will do for you sometimes is, will give you some of those low floor games. And that is frustrating, but I'm not ringing alarm bells about it, either.
Speaking of Aaron Nola, David Pallardy on Twitter, he may have discovered what's wrong with Aaron Nola this season. His fly ball rate by pitch type this season, Nola's cutter has a high fly ball rate, and its introduction coincided with his 4-seam fastball percentage skyrocketing as well. Wonder if the 2 pitches aren't playing well off each other, or if there's something else going on. And then John Stolen this quote tweeted. So from 2016 to 2020, Aaron Nola's ground ball rate was 55.2%, 49.8%, 50.6%, 49.7%, and 49.7%. He was a ground ball machine, and then the last 3 years, 2021, 40.5%, 2022, 43.5%, and then this year also at 40.5%. And 2021 is when he introduced his cutter. He now throws it 8% of the time, which is up 6.5% from last year and 1.6% in 2021. The velocity on all of his pitches is the same, and throwing his changeup just 11.7% of the time, which is a career low. Kind of feels like Aaron Nola's cutter being coupled with a four-seam fastball. It feels like hitters have been able to just kind of sit on that and wait for it, and that's why he's giving up all these home runs.
Yeah, and that's been really, I think Nola's. We've talked about Nola's always had a little bit of self-destruct button on him. For being a great pitcher, like he does have these moments where it's like, man, the floor really falls out from him sometimes. So yeah, I don't know if that's a conversation that Phillies are having with, like, that to me seems intentional. That very much seems like a planned process, and I would imagine that the Phillies are a part of that conversation. I don't know what they're seeing that we're not, but based off that, I would say that's a slight concern of mine. But Nola's still been good. I think, again, he hasn't been as consistent as you'd like him to be, and I do think, obviously, there's big decisions to be made this offseason, but I don't think he's...
I think that's what's heightening it a lot, too. Like, he's had his moments, but he's also had those moments where it's like, Nola, like...
Yeah,
you got to get it together.
That's been the frustrating thing with him, really, going back outside of his first two seasons. I feel like
Cy Young year in 2018.
Yeah,
and then even last year, he was fantastic.
Right. I think the microscope has always been a little more zoomed in on him as well than I would say a lot of other Phillies, for whatever reason. I don't know why that is, but he's always been someone that I think has picked up good and bad criticism and feedback more than
it does feel like the homegrown guys tend to get that between Nola, Bohm, obviously,
because you see them
Rhys Hoskins.
You see them start at such a young age, and you're kind of, especially too when you have them in your farm system, you have your expectation of them from when they're 19, 20 years old, of what you think they can be, and weighted against how they actually perform, because usually those things don't meet up on a line graph the way you want them to.
Yeah, so hopefully the Phillies can keep things going against the Marlins, who, looking for back-to-back seasons of a winning record against the Marlins for the first time in probably a decade or so. They're coming to town this weekend, and then the Braves are in for 4 because there's a doubleheader on Monday. So we'll see. Also hilarious that Trey Turner placed on paternity list exactly 9 months after signing his 11-year, $300 million contract.
Nice.
Congrats on the celebratory sex, Trey.
Yeah.
MLB Trade Rumors quote tweeted their own tweet of the announcement. It's like, Trey Turner placed on paternity list exactly 9 months after this.
You'd love to see it.
Let's get to the run differentials across the league. Looking at the National League, obviously, with the NL East, like we always do. The Atlanta Braves at 90-47. They have a whopping 795 runs scored for a plus 235 run differential. Your Philadelphia Phillies at 77-62 have a plus 69. Nice. Shout out Trey Turner. Run differential, they've scored 678 runs, given up 609. The 71-67 Miami Marlins, who have scored the fewest runs in the division, still only in the 500s at 565. They have a negative 41 run differential. The New York Mets at 64-74. They've officially been eliminated from playoff contention.
Just a beast.
It's hilarious. They
don't worry, Jet season right around the corner. Or Giants, which one is it? I know the bandwagon is tough to keep track of. It's
dimes, double checks.
It's hard to keep track. It's like the subway in New York. It's like you're not totally sure, a little apprehensive. Just walk down the stairs and see what's up.
Let us know your favorite color: green, blue. Which one you rocking with?
Puke orange. Man, could be. I gotta tell you, Could be a tough fall. A lot of expectation, honestly, on both New York teams.
Yes.
Yankees and Mets sucked. A lot of frustration there. I know people talk about the vibes being high at Jet Life on Monday. I got to tell you, that if that goes south, I don't know.
Especially in prime time, Monday night against the Bills.
And I'm not going to make the obvious joke, too, about what day that is. But, it's been a lot of terrible days. I'm just saying, it could be a really...
And there's a drive to left by Nick Castellanos.
I'm just saying, you got the Cowboys-Giants primetime Sunday, and then Bills-Jets primetime Monday after Yankees are Yankees out of playoff contention?
Yes,
I mean,
they
are in all, yeah. I don't know. Everyone starts out...
Their elimination number is 7. Shout out to George Costanza.
Let's be real. They're done. I'm just saying, both New York teams start 0-1. Not great. Jalen Brunson comes down on his knee weird at the Olympics or something. I don't know, man. That's where this gets tough for New York.
Mets have scored 608 runs, given up 639 for a negative 31 run differential, and then the stolen franchise, the Washington Nationals, 62-77, who absolutely just destroyed Steven Strasburg to win a World Series, forcing him to retire. Nationals with a negative 124 run differential. Cubs are in second place with a plus 101 run differential in their division. Colorado Rockies at a negative 210 run differential. Matt, they've given up 821 runs. We're on 1K watch.
I mean, we were... I don't know. You give up...
I
don't think you get to 1K. I think it'd have to be pretty crazy to get to 1K.
It is pretty bad, though. They have now given up more runs than the Oakland Athletics.
That's tough. I mean, you'd have to give up, 60 runs a week? I don't know. They
are playing the Cubs.
I sure hope not.
For our sake.
It'd actually be really cool if the Rockies turn this around. I'm willing to put Bryce Harper on record and rescind his comments earlier in the season for that to make that happen.
So, yeah, the Rockies with the worst run differential in the National League, and then at the American League side of things, the Oakland A's at 43 and 97 have given up 815 runs, but they have a negative 300 run differential, the worst in all of baseball. Kansas City Royals have given up 747, the Chicago White Sox 728, and the LA Angels, who are using body doubles for Shohei Ohtani on picture day, have given up 716 runs after just dismantling their entire roster. And like we mentioned, the Yankees, who are at an even Steven, 69-69, have a negative 1 run differential on the year. Tampa Bay Rays with the best run differential in the American League at plus 186. It's going to be fun down the stretch. We got about a month left of the season, and we'll see who's playing in October, but hopefully it's the Phils hosting the wild card round and painting the town red, as Doja Cat once said. But that's our NL East and MLB run differentials there for you guys. Let's kick it to the NFL, Matt. NFL. Back this week, we've got Thursday Night Football, Chiefs-Lions, the most random opening night game, I think, in quite some time.
Lions got a lot of hype, so I see the vision.
I don't remember the last time. It might have been 2018 when the Eagles did, the last time that season didn't open with both Super Bowl teams playing on the Thursday night.
No, last year.
Last year, too?
It was Bills-Rams last year.
That's right.
Bills-Rams. I think it's like they switched it to now it's just like the Super Bowl team gets the host, and they give them kind of either a juicy matchup or something. Like they rig it a little bit. They say it's a computer that does this stuff, but come on.
Sure. The NFL is back, though. The Eagles will be at Gillette Stadium on good old Tom Brady Day, playing against the Patriots, and it feels like football season, but also not.
Probably because it feels
for
like
us,
July outside.
It still feels beautiful, summertime weather, and obviously, we're fortunate enough that we have good baseball to pay attention to. But we've talked about it pretty much all off season. The Eagles arguably got better via the draft, via free agency. And it does feel like the NFC still kind of is the Eagles to lose.
Yeah, I think really the only way that the Eagles go down, and this is the likely option here, is just by regression. They were incredibly healthy last year, with 22 starters, made it to the Super Bowl. That's just obscene. Like you're not going to get that kind of injury luck again. Although I was reading, apparently they hired a lot of the people from the Rams. They're like athletic and health like scientist people over the last. I think last year actually was their first year in Philly. Maybe that coincides. Maybe there's some like better practices going on. Who knows? But again, just so unlikely that you get that kind of health luck. Obviously, there's the question of losing both your coordinators. Now, Jonathan Gannon is not the best.
Do you have that fire in your gut, Matt?
That's tough. That's really.
Did
really
you
tough.
take the bus to get here?
I just, but Shane Steichen I think is a legitimate hole to fill, and right now it's just a question mark. I trust that the Eagles are making good decisions, but you can make a good decision and something still not work out for you. Defensively, I think probably end up good, but again, who knows? And I think also Darius Slay and Bradbury, they were good last year. I'll tell you this: the list of like 30+ age cornerbacks who play a full season is like 3 guys. I think injuries will probably be an issue for the Eagles this year in a way that they just weren't last season. But all that said, I still expect this team to be obviously a playoff team, and if they're healthy in a real sense in come to playoff time, like I see no reason why they can't be back in an NFC Championship game. In a Super Bowl again. Like I think that's totally doable for them, but are they going to go 13 wins, 14 wins? Probably not. I feel much stronger about like the 10-11 range. Could top out at 12, but the NFC, like you said, is largely open. There's really it's kind of the same 3 teams I felt last year, and that Eagles, Cowboys, 49ers for the regular season at least are going to be the teams that probably end up leading the pack here.
Eagles named their captains on Tuesday. Headlined, obviously, by Jalen Hurts. The core 4 back as captains, that being Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey, Brandon Graham, and Lane Johnson. Darius Slay named a captain. Jake Elliott, your special teams captain. And then I think both new to the captainship this year, if I'm not mistaken, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. The Batmen get named captains. I love that Devontae Smith gets named a captain because it kind of just shows you the respect that he's had since the Eagles drafted him, and he's kind of just come into his own year after year and has gotten better and better. And the fake media story of trying to have the fans pit A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith against each other that came out of nowhere was hilarious, and now they're both named captains.
Yeah, that's a good sign too when your best players are also your best leaders. Like that that does make a difference when you have guys that are the best of their position, not just on your team, but across the league, that they're coming in and putting in the effort. Like that does set a tone. It's cliche, but it does. I know I said the 49ers are a favorite. I'm rolling out a take here. Here's my take. I think the Packers could be very good this year. And I think we have this tendency, like Kyle Shanahan gets throated a lot. I'm going to be honest. And listen, like Kyle Shanahan is a good coach. That's not what I'm debating here. Now listen, Matt LaFleur, head coach of the Packers, has had, I would say, the help of having Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback. Like anytime you have a great quarterback, obviously that's going to help the win column. That doesn't help every coach though. Okay, it just doesn't. Matt LaFleur is 47-19 as a head coach in the NFL. That's obscene. Again, the caveat being that he has had Aaron Rodgers for that. But also, all I've heard is that Aaron Rodgers is washed and that he wasn't good, even though he has 2 of the last 3 MVPs. So you just tell me, I don't know. Kyle Shanahan, 52-46. All I'm going to say is this. People have been penciling in the 49ers a lot. I just did it. We have a tendency to do that with this team. Brock Purdy is the literal last pick of the draft, coming off of a UCL injury, and his backup is Sam Darnold. And they traded away, by the way, the team that spent all offseason crying and pissing their pants about third quarterbacks, and they give away their third quarterback. Because for money reasons, I guess. I thought San Francisco was loaded. They just give him away. I'm just saying, as good as Kyle Shanahan has been, as good as these 49ers have been, it's really a 50-50 with this team. They've not been a team that every single year is 13-4, 13-3, 12-4, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's been quite a few years, and these have been injury years, but that is a potential for, especially these 49ers team, which is very dependent on some like key like areas. There's been seasons where this team just implodes and hasn't been good at all and has been irrelevant.
Their top 4 playmakers are some of the most injury-prone players in the NFL. Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk.
And I can't stress this enough. Brock Purdy was the last pick in the draft and is coming off a UCL injury. I think it's... I'm just going to say, I won't be shocked if this team has like 8 wins and that if they really underperform. Now, the thing that helps them the most, division is cake at the bottom. You have the Rams and Cardinals. Those are 4 wins. You get like at worst 3 if you have like a terrible day, but you're getting 4 wins off of that. You're already,
They don't have an easy schedule either.
They also have, Kyle, they have the worst rest advantage out of everyone in the NFL. That shit matters. Like, that matters. It matters when you're playing teams that are coming off of buys, or you played on a Monday night, that team was playing on Sunday afternoon. Like, that stuff matters in the long run, as you get to the edge of the season. And that is the stuff, too. Typically, you see defensive performance fall off when you have rest disadvantages like that. And this is a team that I expect that also, by the way, everyone can't shut up about the Eagles losing coordinators. Lost D'Amico Ryans as a coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
This is a team that in the past has definitely made that adjustment. I'm going to give them the same credit I give the Eagles. I trust them to make a smart choice. Sometimes it just doesn't work out, and that happens. No guarantee that this defense is top 3 again. They just re-signed Nick Bosa today. He hadn't been practicing all summer with the team. I think that matters. I was reading, there was an article, I can't remember the player that was talking about. It was an ex-player talking about when Nick Bosa was still having his contract dispute with the team. I guess it wasn't really even a dispute. They were just trying to find the middle ground, whatever. Apparently it was a very amicable holdout, whatever that means.
It's good to know he wasn't holding out in solidarity of Donald Trump being in jail.
Well, he just really wants Enrique Tarrio, that sentence really knocked down. Him and Joey both are just really upset. It's been a really rough last few days for the Proud Boys and for
I saw his Instagram story when Trump's mugshot was put up. It said "Free Blood."
Unbelievable. There was an ex-player talking about whatever, you don't really need to practice like when you're at that level, especially like defensive line. Like you can kind of like work your way in, but conditioning matters. He said it would always, again, I can't remember the player that was talking about it, but he said it would always take him at least 3 weeks of practice, of training camp, whatever, to feel like game ready, like game speed ready, like you could actually play a game and not like feel like really fatigued throughout. I'm sure he's been keeping in good shape, but there's no replica for that. It's why, even some of the veteran starters still play a quarter of preseason game because it's just, you need those reps. I think that I don't know. There's a lot to like about the 49ers. I think they also have a little bit of a glass jaw that you can pick a lot of holes in a lot of teams. I just think we have a tendency to really overlook the blemishes with the 49ers. And that, again, I can't stress this enough. I can't stress it enough. That this team is very dependent on Brock Purdy, a man who, if you asked even the most NFL sicko this time last year, would have no clue who Brock Purdy is. No clue. He was literally Mr. Irrelevant. He tore his UCL.
Nobody knew who Brock Purdy was until even midway through last year.
Right. No one knew who he was when he started. No one had any clue who this guy was. All I'm saying is, I could just see this going bad for the
Jimmy
49ers.
Garoppolo ain't walking through that door.
The good thing for them is, like I said, their division's easy, and the NFC as a whole is really, I don't think, super competitive. I think there are good teams. I feel that if Jordan Love is an average quarterback, if he gives you a Geno Smith performance, I think people are very, very much sleeping on the Packers because Lions are getting a lot of hype in that division. I think the Vikings could be like decent again this year, but and the Bears are getting like the mystique love, of like, well, let's see what Justin Fields is, and they made all the, they got DJ Moore, and like There's a lot of like intrigue, and no one seems to want to talk about the Packers. I don't know why, but that's my 2 cents. I think.
Looking at the 49ers schedule too, they start on the road on the East Coast against the Steelers. They have the entire NFC East on their schedule, so Giants, Cowboys, Eagles. They got to go to Cleveland, to Minnesota. They host the Bengals. They go to Jacksonville. They obviously have the Seahawks twice in their division. They host the Ravens. Like that's not an easy schedule.
Not an easy schedule, and again, all of that was with rest disadvantage. I don't know.
And with Brock Purdy.
Maybe. Half of those games
or Sam Darnold.
Could be, it's just when did we just say, hold on, like this is a little much, okay? Do we think Brock Purdy, he went 7-0 last year? 1, do we think that's really Brock Purdy's level? 2, do we think that had nothing to do with maybe, I don't know, Christian McCaffrey ending up on the team? I don't know, maybe. Might have been.
Maybe, D'Amico Ryans knowing how to scheme a defense the way he does.
Who knows? I don't know. I feel like they could have a worse regular season. I think people are writing them in for. That's all. I just wanted to put that on record.
We're gonna do what we always do. We're gonna predict records, division winners, all that good stuff, and it's brought to you by our awesome merch partners at PHI Apparel Company. There's no doubt in our minds, guys, when you're getting ready to go down to the link on Thursday Night Football for a season opener, when you're going to your favorite bars, hanging out with your friends and family, watching the Eagles, watching the Phillies, you're going to stand out in the crowd with PHI Apparel Company with their unique designs, made for everybody. You're going to be the talk of the entire function with your merch from PHI Apparel Company. Plus, you can get Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast merch from them as they are our exclusive merch partners. Go to phiapparel.co. Use code Underground for 10% off at any point during the season, anytime, 365 days a year. And then I believe through opening day. Yes, now through the season opener, you get 20% off all Eagles gear with code GOBIRDS at checkout at phiapparel.co. So now through the season opener, go to phiapparel.co, and you want 20% off all Eagles merch. Go to phiapparel.co, use code GOBIRDS to get your Eagles merch for the season. Matt, we'll start with the Philadelphia Eagles and their schedule and looking at things. Obviously we don't expect another 14-3 season, but there's a lot of good with this Eagles schedule, I think, across the board. First things first, you start off at Gillette Stadium with that new giant big screen that I got to see in person this past weekend. It is gigantic. Going to play the Patriots on Tom Brady Celebration Day. Mac Jones, really?
People always talk about like the energy and the climate of the game. I think more often than not, there's a little bit of like energy expelled in like these big pregame award things. I know we've experienced it as Sixers fans where you have like someone really awesome come out and ring the bell, or like Joel Embiid gets his MVP trophy. Like it's just
somebody banging the drum at a Union game.
Yeah, like it just. I think sometimes you kind of. The energy like peaks a little too early, and that could be it. I think the Eagles, if we're being frank, are a better team, but always a tough opponent. The defense is always going to be good too. I think that's always going to be the challenge. But mobile quarterbacks have been an issue for the Patriots. Like that has not been something really any defense can adapt to. That's why they're such like game breakers. But you got to if you expect this team to be competing for a Super Bowl again. I think being able to go in New England and beat what is probably going to be a pretty average team, that's what you should be doing.
100%. I think the Eagles will start 1-0 in their first of many 425 time slot games. Then the home opener, short week, Thursday Night Football, way to shaft the defending champs of the NFC. As the Minnesota Vikings come to town, maybe they'll put more things on the Rocky statue. I mean, Kirk Cousins in primetime, I'll welcome that any day of the week.
Yeah. He's aware of that, too. I watched the Netflix show. He's aware of the primetime Kirk discourse. So,
I think the Eagles will go out and perform in front of the fans and get
I think that
a strong
as well.
win.
That should be 2-0. I think the Eagles' starting schedule is
Very
pretty favorable.
yeah.
To them.
Then you get the mini bye plus an extra day because you go from Thursday night football to Monday night football the following week down in Tampa to take on Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay
Well,
Buccaneers.
maybe could be Kyle Trask.
That too. Either way, I like the Eagles in this matchup as well. I think across the board they just are a superior team, and I think the Eagles' defense is going to be able to handle that offensive line of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers pretty well.
I agree.
Then, so September, we have the Eagles collectively going 3-0. Then you go to October, and you're hosting the new look, Joshua Harris owned Washington Commanders. The Commanders don't scare me.
No, not at all. I think there's a lot of excitement around the team that is mostly off the field related. I think on the field, pretty unproven Sam Howell and a defense that could be good. Now listen, one of the few teams beat the Eagles in the regular season last year. Division games are always like that, but I don't know. I think talking about a home game, it's a little different. But I remember a few years ago, season opener against Washington. I don't know if they were the football team yet or whatever, but I remember that being a pretty close game. So you never really know, but I again should be beating them.
Then you move to another 4:05 p.m. start out in L.A. Could potentially be an Eagles, Rams, Phillies, Dodgers doubleheader potentially going on at the same time. Nice little L.A. takeover in the works. But the Eagles go to SoFi Stadium to take on the corpse of Matthew Stafford, who can't connect with his teammates, and the L.A. Rams. Who knows if Cooper Kupp will be healthy by then. He's already been ruled out for week 1. For anybody who's playing fantasy, go get your Cooper Kupp replacements. I think the Eagles can handle the Rams for sure. They are kind of a shell of what they once were a couple years ago.
They signed an insane amount of undrafted free agents and rookies. That team is in a gap year. I think they're looking. They're doing a lot of in-city scouting of
the redshirt Rams
of Caleb Williams. I think is.
Yeah, depending on.
This whole season is just it's just Sean McVay like patting Matt Stafford's hand like it's okay. You're gonna make it through this. And it's like he's like signaling to someone behind him like he's fucking done. Like he is toast. His spine is like a saltine cracker that has been left in water. Like
his arm is a noodle.
As soon as you move that cup, that shit is disintegrating.
Then you come back east, and the Eagles take on the Hard Knocks darlings, Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets.
This is where it gets tough.
Should be an interesting game.
I think you got to give the Eagles a loss somewhere in here. I not that it's necessarily this game. You can always talk yourself into the game, be like, they win. I think the Jets could be good. I think defensively, especially, could be a very good team. We'll see, but I could be a loss here for sure.
Eagles never lost the Jets in franchise history either.
I would say that's because the Jets have been stinky for a very long time, and they could be stinky again this year. Who knows? No guarantee of that, but do you think the Jets have potential to be a good? Again, defensively, they're going to be good no matter what. I think the question mark is just what level can Aaron Rodgers play at, and I think that could be a tough game. I think the Jets could be good this year.
The big reason I have this as a win is the coaching chess match. I like Nick Sirianni over Robert Saleh in this matchup.
Oh, you don't like Nate Hackett? That's what you're saying?
I don't think he can hack it. So I'm going to take the Eagles to get a tough win. Like, it's going to be a win that they're going to have to earn, but I think they will get the win and keep that streak alive.
Did you watch the Hard Knocks finale?
I did not.
Well, have you watched any Hard Knocks? I don't want
No.
to spoil it. Well, so Aaron Rodgers went on a monologue about. So they show like the footage of the practice field, and he's talking to like a security guy. He's like, "Hey, you see that guy in the blue shirt? Like, bring him down." And he's like, "Oh, that guy over there." He's like, "Yeah, he's an old friend." And so he's like talking about. He's like, "Yeah, it's like an old friend of mine. Like when I was in New York for the draft, as like when I was like being drafted in the NFL, like We became friends, became close. I stayed with him. We saw a UFO together. And he goes on this
Tom DeLonge?
Oh, dude. He goes on this. I'm telling you, it is great TV. It's like a 4-minute, just clip of him describing seeing this UFO and awesome stock footage of the stars, passing through. Just think of a time lapse of a starry sky with meteors, and then they threw in some post production flashes on the trees.
B-roll.
Oh, it was beautiful. And he's talking about, he's like, well, I've done a lot of research about UFOs, and he said they heard a siren going off. He's like, it was the nuclear power plant that's only 9 miles away. He said, that's where UFOs show up at, is by nuclear power plants. Which he's not wrong. He's not wrong when he says that, but it was beautiful to watch. I mean, just truly one of the minds of our generation. I gotta tell you, I'm leaning back in Aaron Rodgers. I think he's, I don't know. I think it's the ayahuasca or whatever. I think he's got to get back on that if he wants to be back to MVP level. That's what he says did it for him.
Yeah, he's still on it. Did you see him at the U.S. Open?
Good for him.
Instagram. Watching his good pal Novak Djokovic and the sponsor on the court. He took a nice little red pen on Instagram and swiped it out because it was Moderna.
He is just, he's him. He's just himself. That's all he is. He's just Aaron Rodgers. Jesus Christ.
Then the Eagles have Sunday Night Football, in which it will be a travesty that your Miami Dolphins will not be wearing their throwback uniforms for this one. This is one of the Eagles' throwback games, but it's Eagles-Dolphins Sunday Night Football at the Link. This, I think, is the biggest test overall in the first half of the season for the Eagles. I think the Dolphins are going to be very good once again. I think they have weapons on the offensive side of the ball that can do a lot of the things that the Eagles' offensive weapons can do. So this could be, one of those track race type of games where somebody's going to have to make a play on defense for either team. But, Matt, how do you see your Dolphins matching up against your Eagles?
I will say something I talked about a little bit is just that Eagles cornerbacks are on the older side. Still, I think they can play at a high level. I think the demands of a long season, though, could catch up with you. I just pray to not be the man that has to track Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle all game. Dolphins are a little bit of a glass cannon. Things can go wrong. It is a little bit of a Jenga tower, that team, and so
Two was a question mark.
Right. He's going to be a question mark all season. But so is everyone in the NFL. Tua gets treated, I think, as again, he's Matt Stafford and he has a spine made of silly putty. At the end of the day, anyone can get a concussion. And by the way, you don't even actually have a concussion this year because they have these concussion spotters. I just want to remind everyone, there's going to be some guy who gets pulled out of a game that's not allowed to come back in because some random dude with binoculars says he looks like he might be concussed. I don't know how we don't have a better system than that, but I'm just telling you, it's going to hurt someone this year. It's going to ruin a game at some point this season. But I think if the Dolphins are healthy for this game, it's a win. I think offensively that team can blow a lot of teams away, and I think defensively they're going to be a lot better too. Vic Fangio in the building. I think there's a lot to like about the Dolphins. I think it's just a tough matchup.
This is another one where the Eagles are going to have to earn it. I think they will, and I think the home field advantage of potentially, city buzzing once again, Red October, along with Sunday Night Football. I think the Eagles get a high-scoring, earned type of win and improve to 7-0 on the year. Matt, you have them going 2-2 in October, to have them at 5-2 going into the final game of October, which I think we both will agree will be another win, so long as the guardrail doesn't fall down on Jalen Hurts once again as he exits the stadium against Joshua Harris's Commanders.
Yeah, I think, again, you never know with the division games, but I do think the Commanders could be frisky this year, in a similar vein as last season. But I think, again, this could even be a new head coach here. This could be Bieniemy, calling the games at this point in the season. Who knows? So I think you got to chalk them up.
Then the final game before the bye week, first game of November, at home, 4:25, could be, once again, Eagles-Cowboys, Phillies World Series. Eagles-Cowboys at home before the bye week.
I will give the Eagles a win. I always just, whenever we do this, I split the Eagles and Cowboys because that is typically how those things go. So I will give the Eagles the win at home. You can already pencil me in for the Eagles losing on the road to Dallas. It works out some way like that.
I have this one as the win, and then, we'll get to the one later on in the schedule. But I think the Eagles go into the bye week 9-0. But I don't.
Put some money down on that.
I don't hate the two games that you picked as potential losses, especially the Dolphins one. I think that's the toughest game on the front half of the schedule. But then out of the bye week, it does not get easy because on November 20th, Monday Night Football, a Super Bowl 57 rematch, Eagles-Chiefs. This is where I think the first loss happens. The Chiefs are, they're the Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, and I think, going to Arrowhead is one of the tougher stadiums to go play at, so I'm going to chalk this one up as a loss.
I will give them a loss here as well, but Chiefs they've lost regular season games, they're not invincible, they lost to both the Bills and the Bengals last year in the regular season, they can drop. They're not going to go undefeated all the time, but yeah, I think it's a tough ask. I think if you were asking me to make a big stake on it, I would say the Chiefs.
Then the day that the world may end, following Thanksgiving, you can go to the ultimate tailgate. Eagles-Bills at the Link, 4:25 p.m. Pray for every folding table in America. This may be the tailgate to end all tailgates. It's going to be a fun game. Again, kind of similar to Eagles-Dolphins, where Bills have a lot of weapons on offense. They have a quarterback who can sling the rock quite a bit, and they have a very good defense as well. This is one of the tougher games, in my opinion, to kind of sift through.
Yeah, I think for me, the Bills are a very good team. I think people have a lot of negative feelings about them simply because of the playoff loss that they had to the Bengals. They did not lose a game, I think, by more than 3 points last season. They were good last year. Mm-hmm. It's kind of been erased out of our mind. This was a 13-win team. I'm gonna rock with the Bills because, frankly, I'm just rocking with the Bills in a lot of places this year. So I'm gonna give the Bills the win. I just think they're a very good team.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very close game, but I think the Bills could sneak it out, so I'll put this one as a loss as well. Before the big one, Brock Purdy.
Maybe.
Sam Darnold.
Perhaps.
Josh Johnson even. Coming in to Philadelphia on December 3rd, where 49ers fans are too afraid to come to Philadelphia anymore. This one's a win, in my opinion. I think the Eagles, have the better team overall, and I think they're going to want to stick it to the 49ers with a double bird, if you will, and silence them once and for all. That if Brock Purdy's playing, look, he played, and it didn't change anything.
Yeah, bracket episode's up for me as well.
So there is that. So in the month of November, we have the Eagles going 2-2 respectively, and then December starts off with a win. We talked about it earlier. Cowboys, Eagles at home. The Eagles get the win on the road. Sunday Night Football. More than likely, they'll split. Would be very nice if the Eagles can win both, but we always try to chalk that up as kind of a split because one way or another, the Cowboys somehow find a way to win.
Yeah, just the way it goes against division rivals.
Then December 17th, 4:25 start. West Coast at Seattle, Geno Smith and the new-look Seahawks defense, the Rashad Penny revenge game.
Yeah, as it was. We go Eagles here, but Seahawks could be a little frisky this year as well. I think caught people by surprise last year. This team's still very good. Made good draft picks. I think there's good upside with them. I would not say this is an easy win, but yeah, I'm going to go with the Eagles here.
Then we celebrate the Lord's Day. Christmas Day, 4:30 p.m., Lincoln Financial Field. Danny Dimes and the New York Giants coming to Philly to take on the Birds.
I will give the Eagles the win here as well.
I'm also going to give this one a win. Then we go to the final game of December on the final day of 2023. Nice little warm-up for your New Year's Eve festivities.
Win.
And by warm-up, I mean the fire in your gut.
If there's anything other than a win, this is just a crime scene.
Give us the win against Jonathan Gannon and the...
if he's even the coach by then.
Yeah.
If he's even the coach by then.
Somebody free Zach Ertz. So in December, we have the Eagles going 4-1. And then one game in January 7th, at the Meadowlands, taking on the Giants.
I'll go with the win there as well. I think that could be a game that also really means something. I think the Cowboys could probably be in contention for the division. There could be a game important to like seeding in the NFC. So I think the Eagles might actually have something to play for there too. So yeah, I'll give the Birds the win there as well.
So Matt, you have the Eagles, even though could be a drop-off. You have the Eagles going 3-0 in September, 3-2 in October, 2-2 in November, 4-1 in December, and 1-0 in January. So that is 5 losses, so 12-5.
I think that's pretty reasonable for them. They could definitely do that.
And I have the Eagles repeating, going 14-3.
We'll see.
Which would be very nice.
That's like a high ceiling for them, but again, health is going to determine a lot of that.
Yes, 100%. And obviously we hope that there's going to be more than just one win in the month of January for the Eagles. Looking at just every other division in the NFL, how do you see the divisional standings kind of shaking up across the league? We'll start with the NFC. Do we think the Eagles are repeating as division winners? First NFC East division repeat winner since 2003, 2004?
It's tough to say. I think yes. I think it does come between the Eagles and Dallas. I say yes, but I think that's going to be very, very close. I think Dallas could have a very similar, win total as well. I think they could be around the 12-13 mark. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give it to the Eagles, but I do think Dallas could win the division. Absolutely.
The NFC West.
You know what? I'm going to roll with the take. I'm just going to go with the Seahawks here.
I'm with you.
I just think, the 49ers absolutely can, but I can't also have talked about how they have a glass jaw, and I think they could potentially be fraudulent this year and then say, well, they're going to steamroll the division. I think it's going to come down to the games against the 49ers and Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are going to have to show that they can beat the 49ers, yes. Which was a struggle for them, especially we all have that memory of the playoff game in our mind, but listen, I think it's doable.
The NFC North.
I'm going Packers, baby. I believe in them. I just really do. I think this team is good. I think they have talent. Can they put the talent together? I don't know, but I think they could surprise some people. I really do.
I'm going to go with the Lions, the darling pick. I really like their offense, and I think they're just continuing to build defensively as well. So I'm going to go with the flashy pick and take the Lions to win that division. Then the NFC South, I feel like there's really only one answer, simply based on their schedule, and I don't know if you've seen their schedule, Matt. I'm going with the Saints.
Oh, New Orleans has a cake schedule.
The most ridiculous schedule. Yes. If we don't hear the same kind of takes we heard about the Eagles last year about the Saints schedule this year, I don't know what to say. The Saints this year played the Titans, the Panthers, the Packers. Obviously, their division, so Bucks, Panthers, Falcons. They play the Patriots, the Texans, the Jaguars, Colts, Bears, Vikings, Lions, Giants, Rams, and then their divisional games. Their toughest game may be the Jaguars.
The best quarterback they're facing is Trevor Lawrence, and then it's like Kirk Cousins and Daniel Jones. Like those are their toughest quarterback. Yeah, they're just by strength of schedule, they should be winning this division. Atlanta could be sneaky, but New Orleans has such a nice schedule set up for them, and this is just a team too that just seems to hang around every year. Mm-hmm. Honestly, like I think they could definitely take out this division for sure.
Looking at the AFC East might be the most competitive division in football this year. I still have the Bills on top, but but I think the Dolphins could be in the mix, and then we'll see what the Jets end up doing, but I think the Bills still win this division.
The Jets, the opposite of the 49ers, have significant rest advantage, especially down the stretch of the season. Could be important. I really don't know how this AFC East is going to go. You could tell me any of the Bills, Dolphins, and Jets win. I think they'll all be good teams. I think they'll all, if not be in the playoffs, contending for the playoffs. Like, I think this division could legitimately give you, obviously your division winner and then 2 wild cards. I really think there is enough talent there. I'm going to roll with the Bills, though, just because they've had a hard schedule every year, and Josh Allen is just such an amazing quarterback that I think he won't let you get below 9 wins, whereas I don't think that's necessarily the case with Tua or Aaron Rodgers at this point in his career.
The AFC West, is it still Chiefs Kingdom, or will the kingdom fall?
It's still Chiefs Kingdom. What are we doing here? Come on.
I'm with you.
I'm not buying the Chargers.
No.
And I think the Raiders are a sneaky pick to have the worst record in the NFL. I really think they could. That place could be an absolute dumpster fire. Jimmy Garoppolo is does not play more than 9 games in a season. I'm telling you, that place is ready to just crumble
to a black hole.
The Raiders will be bad too, but
the AFC North, another interesting division. I think with 2.5 teams: Ravens, Bengals, Browns, Steelers. I'm still rocking with Joe Burrow. I still think the Bengals have enough to get it done, but I think this will be a much more competitive division between Bengals, Ravens, and maybe the Steelers as well. But I think the Bengals win the division.
Yeah, this division I think could be a NFC East light from last year, where you get 3 really good teams. I think personally, I want and think that the Browns will be bad again this year. I'm going with the Ravens, actually. I just think there's a lot of excitement around that team. Maybe I'm just getting caught up in that whirlwind. A lot of that is going to depend on Lamar staying healthy, but I think, again, you can win this division with 11 wins, and the Ravens have played the Bengals very well the last few years. Almost beat them in the playoffs last year with Tyler Huntley. That game was a little closer than I think people have in their imagination.
Pro Bowl quarterback Tyler Huntley.
Right, exactly. When you have a Pro Bowler as a backup, that's pretty impressive. I just think there's a lot to like there, and again, health is going to be a determining factor, but I think the Ravens have the juice.
Did you also see Joe Burrow's quote this week that the Bengals are playing 3 Super Bowls this year?
I love Joe Burrow. Honestly, he's one of my favorite just players in the NFL. He's so goddamn cool. He's awesome. I think he's great. It's me picking the Ravens is not me thinking the Bengals are going to be bad. I think again that could be a division that really comes down to the Bengals and Ravens and how they play each other in those games. And I just think the Ravens might have the edge in that. Who knows? But Joe Burrow's no joke in big games. That's for sure.
Joe Burrow's quote was very funny. He said, "We're playing 3 Super Bowls this year. Chiefs in December, Chiefs in January, Eagles in February."
Love the man.
Final division here, the AFC South. I mean, I think the Jaguars are leaps and bounds above every team in the division.
Yeah, it's. I think the Titans could be a little sneaky here. I think people might be writing them off a little too early. Again, this is a team. Vrabel's a little bit like Mike Tomlin, in that it's hard for me to imagine them going lower than 7 wins. And with this division, who knows? But Jacksonville defensively, I have some question marks still, but offensively, it should be a really strong team. Obviously, I have Calvin Ridley now. Tank Bigsby getting a lot of hype. I'm going to roll with the Jags, but I'd say don't be surprised. Titans are winning this division,
Yeah, I like the Jaguars a lot this year. So we're pretty much on the same page outside of 2 divisions where you have the Packers, I have the Lions, and then you have the Ravens, I have the Bengals. I think if there's any year where we get a repeat of the Super Bowl from last year, it's this year more than anything. What's your ultimate Super Bowl pick for Super Bowl 58?
Well, we previewed a game already. I'm rolling with the Bills and Eagles. I just think it's not very common for teams to make it back to the Super Bowl after losing the Super Bowl the year prior. If the Eagles do that, they would be the first team since the 90s Bills to do that. I don't know what kind of emotional state the tri-state area would be in for that type of Super Bowl matchup. I think the Bills have the juice. And again, I think people very quick to build teams up, very quick to break them down. I'm sure you'll see it with Joe Burrow and the Bengals over the next season too. Josh Allen was like the darling, and everyone was in on the Bills. And I just think last year was such an emotional roller coaster for them with DeMar Hamlin. I think that you just can't discount what that. Obviously, that brings you closer as like people, but I just think that they were an exhausted team. Also, no one talks about this. Brock Purdy's gotten way more. He's coming off UCL. Who knows? Josh Allen played half the season with a UCL issue last year. That I think, again, we've just memory hold this. The dude probably shouldn't have been playing. Couldn't throw a check down anymore. Just had to launch the ball. And before that injury, he was on pace for like 50 touchdowns. He was nuclear to start the season last year. I think we've really counted the Bills out for. I don't know why. I get it's a tough division, tough conference. Totally. It's been a tough division and tough conference in the last few years, and they've still won 12, 13 games, been competitive. I think a lot of things could go right for them this year, and this could be the year where maybe the pressure's off a little bit, and, they kind of have a little of a post-hype sleeper here.
I'm going to say run it back. It's going to be Chiefs-Eagles. I think it would be extremely fun to get a rematch in back-to-back years, and hopefully the Eagles, with a competent defensive coordinator, can help get the job done. But yeah, there it is. That's our full-on NFL season preview. And let us know in the YouTube comment section your predictions, your thoughts, and everything else. And let's hope that we have these things come true, because that would be a lot of fun if we're right. It's always good to be right. Last bit here. It's brought to you by Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. Go to tomahawkshades.com or download the app in the App Store or Google Play and check out all their sunglasses, blue light glasses, and prescription lenses. And when you go to checkout, use promo code USP for 25% off your order at tomahawkshades.com. Some quick hitters here, Matt. Danny Green back in the building.
We are just bringing back the ancient ones.
Let's let's actually just trade James Harden to Brooklyn, get Ben Simmons back, and one last hurrah with the boys on the way out.
We need the Eagles to have a deep playoff run, because I can't.
We need the Phillies to be back in the fucking World Series.
I can't spend January watching this team. I need something else. Something better with my life.
The fact that was just like an 11 p.m. like, hey, Danny Green's back.
This place sucks, honestly.
Was that more Danny Green is going to be on the Sixers, or did Danny Green enjoy the partnership contract that he potentially has with NBC Sports Philadelphia for his podcast?
Honestly, it's Adam Thielen moment, where it's like the dude's doing commentary talk at the combine, and you want me to take him serious? You want me to expect that he's really going to make an impact? Okay, we'll pretend. That's what we'll do. We'll pretend. Come on, Jesus Christ.
Nick Nurse was on the Pat Bev pod.
What am I supposed to do with any of this?
Nick Nurse also threw out a first pitch and did the Kimbrel pandering.
That was cool.
He
respect that.
He said on the Pat Bev pod that when the Raptors won in 2019, the Cubs asked him to come throw the first pitch. I'm not sure what his full-on connection is to Chicago, but when he did that, Kimbrel was pitching for the Cubs, and everybody was like, "Oh, you got to do the Kimbrel," and he didn't do it. So then when he came here and realized Kimbrel was playing for the Phillies, he made up for not doing the Kimbrel pose on the mound and did it.
It's from Carroll, Iowa. That might be just
you might just have grown
close
up a Cubs
enough.
fan.
Yeah, close enough to University of Northern Iowa. There's point guard there, number 4. Hell yeah, brother.
But yeah, so we got the clarification on why he did the Kimbrel.
Would you like to know his first player coach role? Nick Nurse for the Derby Rams in the British Basketball League in 1990-1991. God bless him. He spent a lot of time in England, actually.
Yeah.
I did not know that about Nick Nurse. He was in his early career was like an England guy. Interesting.
I think that's also part of his connection to Pat Bev when he got like when Patrick Beverley was playing overseas and got like recruited to come play, and was playing in the D League. Nick Nurse was his coach, so they have like a relationship there. So yeah, Nick Nurse on the Pat Bev pod. Shout out to Roan. And then the Union, unfortunately, lost.
Hold on, he's Dr. Nurse, by the way. Did not know this.
Heyo.
He's graduated from Concordia University, Chicago, with a PhD in sports leadership in May of 2022. This dude was getting a PhD while coaching an NBA team. No wonder the Raptors sucked the last few years. God almighty. And Nurse is a big fan of the musician Prince, and was the master of ceremonies at a performance by the New Power Generation in Toronto in July of 2022. That feels like a random thing to I know sometimes. Okay, so he's a lifelong Chicago Cubs fan.
Okay.
And was a guest conductor of the 7th inning stretch at Wrigley Field in 2019. So he can take me out to the ball game.
Nurse.
Dude, connection to the show. Holy shit. On June 20th, 2019, Nurse joined Hamilton-based rock band Arkells at their sold-out Toronto concert.
I remember this.
To perform a cover of Stevie Wonder's hit song, Signed, Sealed, Delivered, I'm Yours, on guitar.
Wow. I remember that. I have the video of that.
I also did not know one of his sons is named Rocky. How has he not thrown that in? I mean, come on.
Yeah, he wore the Arkells jacket and everything out on stage. This was like right after the Raptors won the NBA title.
That's pretty that is pretty wild to me.
He's like a super talented musician too. I forget
That's pretty
what,
wild.
Arena this was. Oh yeah, it was the Budweiser stage in Toronto. So like,
Who knew that Nick Nurse was I mean, he's cooler than Doc. Give him that.
Yes. And like he's like actually shreds.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. I left this out of the NFL take, and it just reminded me because I said Doc Rivers. I had this brain blast, and I forgot to bring it up. Would you like me to tell you who the Doc Rivers of the NFL is?
Ooh, we know who the Ben Simmons is. It's obviously Kyler Murray. Who is the Doc Rivers of the NFL?
Mike McCarthy.
Yes.
He's the Doc Rivers of the NFL.
Yes.
Gives you a good regular season. Feel nice about it. Go to the play. Choke. Sucks.
Yes.
Underperforms with talent all the time. Has a ring from like
Yep.
13, 14, 15 years ago now with an elite squad that should have won more. And that is like his calling card that he just gets to, he walks in a room with an owner and like, well, he won a Super Bowl, so we got to hear him out. He's got some ideas. Wants a lot of control. Kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
But also kind of funny still. Too. Like you kind of would like to have a beer with him at Thanksgiving, but also like you know that
he's busy on Thanksgiving.
You only want to see him on Thanksgiving, you know? Like there it is. I had
That's
that,
a good
I had
one.
that thought the other day. He is just he's the NFL Doc Rivers.
Oh, and then last NFL prediction too that I forgot to mention. Who has the worst record in the NFL this year?
Feels dumb to not say the Cardinals. I'm telling you though, I think the Raiders could be absolutely abysmal. I think there's nothing good on that team besides Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, and Matt Crosby. That is it. I'm telling you, that team is gonna suck, and they have a hard division. The team is gonna be terrible.
Yeah, I think it's a race between the Cardinals, the Rams.
Buccaneers could honestly.
Buccaneers could be
they
in
could
that mix.
fold. They could just they could be one of those teams that gets to early December and like, what, we got 3 wins. What are we doing?
And I think I think it's gonna be a tough year for the Titans.
I just think their floor is not low enough. They could maybe be like a 5 or 6 win team. I could not see them being the worst team in the NFL. Mike Vrabel is just not that. He has way too much testosterone. Like honestly,
he'll go and suit up.
Honestly, he would sooner play and like probably play at a better level.
As he once said, he would chop his own dick off for a Super Bowl.
Fair enough. I don't agree, but fair enough if that's the way you feel.
Last bit here, the Union, they They failed to beat Toronto, but they bounced back in a big way on Sunday and beat the New York Red Bulls 4-1.
As they do.
As they typically do. With a big-time matchup on deck in a couple weeks against Cincinnati at home.
Yeah. Kai Wagner with 3 assists, a.k.a. the shut up and pay me performance. Yeah. Let's get that deal done, that please, I think is what everyone's mind is on now.
Yeah, so you got Cincinnati, Charlotte, LAFC coming to town, and then the very next day, PLL championship game going on at Subaru Park on Sunday, September 24th. And then you have FC Dallas on September 27th, and then Columbus to wrap up the month of September. And then October, it's Atlanta United, Nashville, and New England. Union in 4th place right now, but not by much. Orlando City and New England ahead by 1 point each. Also very funny that the standings, like the power rankings for the MLS came out, and Union gained ground. They earned 3 points, and then they drop in the standings because Inter Miami just win games.
Well, Inter Miami somehow is like number 2 in the MLS power rankings. I'm sorry, they're still
14th in the East.
Like, come on,
with
like
25 points.
Obviously, they're good, right? Like, we know that like it's changed team, but come on.
They might lose this coming week though. Messi not gonna be playing for the first time for the World Cup qualifier.
Let's just not get carried away with ourselves. Okay, that's all we gotta do.
Very funny stuff. In the YouTube comment section, leave your bold NFL predictions. We want to see what you guys are thinking about the upcoming NFL season. Enjoy Thursday night football, and then of course Sunday. Eagles. We got Eagles enemies coming out later this week with myself and Pat Pitts as we preview Eagles Patriots from his perspective, doing his stuff for Gillette Gazette, and obviously still working for us as well. So he's a little torn between his Patriots and the Eagles as a company man that he is. But make sure you guys are following us on the socials at Underground PHI, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook.com/UndergroundSportsPHI. Follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Castorina. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Leave a 5-star rating and review. It goes a long way for helping this show continue to grow, helps more people find all of our shows at Underground Sports Philadelphia. So go subscribe. YouTube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia as well. We need to get to 600 subscribers before the end of the month. So go subscribe. We're at 540 right now. That's where you get full video episodes of every show on our network, including this one twice a week. So go subscribe to the YouTube channel. And, of course, we are presented by the City of Vineland. And whether you're a company looking to expand, relocate, or you're a new business startup, selecting the right location is critical to your success. Vineland, New Jersey offers both an affordable business location and an excellent quality of life. The city's economic development department is a one-stop source for moving your project through the development and approval process, and their goal is to make this process as smooth as possible and to provide the fastest turnaround times in the region. If you're considering potential locations for your operation, contact the Vineland Economic Development Team at 856-794-4100. That's 856-794-4100. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. A big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for their continued support of this podcast. And be sure to get your merch at phiapparel.co. Use code Underground for 10% off and use code GOBIRDS for 20% off all Eagles merch through the season opener. This has been episode number 566 of Underground Sports Philadelphia. For Matt, I'm KB. We will catch you after the Eagles-Patriots game for another episode, and hopefully the Eagles being 1-0. Welcome back to football season, and let's go Phils. But until then, we're getting the heck up out of here, and we are signing off. Peace.